I boiled down 15 years of serve research from the best coaches and science in the world into a proven system that's transformed thousands of players' serves. And if you want that consistent 100-mile-per-hour serve, we found you only need to execute 5 simple phases. And by mastering each of these 5 phases, which you will by the end of this video, you'll not only have that confidence of being able to bomb your serve like that, but know with that certainty you're executing every single phase with world-class technique. So whether you're feeling tight, inconsistent, or just weak right now on your serve, make this video full screen and watch all the way to the end, because each phase unlocks the key to a world-class serve. So before we dive into the checkpoints, I'm gonna teach you the most valuable thing that I've ever created. It's my high-level framework of actually how you're gonna approach your own serve development after this video. Or maybe you've been there before, because my experience was when I first started trying to improve my serve, my sessions were hit or miss. Sometimes I'd go out and train and I'd hit serve after serve, but yet I didn't really have a plan. I didn't have a clear goal of how I was gonna hit world-class form 100 miles per hour. So I'm gonna give you that right now. So in our comprehensive framework, we covered that there's 5 core phases to serving with world-class technique. As the most advanced model ever designed, what we found is that there's actually over 20 biomechanical ranges of motion throughout each phase in the serve that constitute world-class technique. We then used computer vision AI to track all 20 biomechanical ranges across all 5 phases. And we did this for all of the top servers in the game. We unified that data into one cohesive model, which I'm gonna be breaking down and teaching for you right now. So this is the way to think about your serve development. It's just a combination of different checkpoints. And when you know the specific checkpoints that you wanna focus on, this empowers you to know, got it, I just need to master these specific checkpoints and I have a world-class serve. This is exactly how I used my approach to learn Carlos Alcaraz's serve in just a matter of about 7 one-hour training sessions. So the framework and how you wanna watch this video is for each of the phases that we cover, ideally, you wanna have out a video of your serve to go through each of these checkpoints in real time and just assess, are you doing them, are you not? So that way, by the end of the training, you have a customized development plan and a customized roadmap. The most important thing is that don't practice ever again on your serve unless you're using video analysis. This was instrumental because after every single rep, you might think in your mind you're doing it correctly, like creating that pro drop position, but in reality, you're still opening the racket. Video analysis is the only way to know. So this is the high-level framework that we're gonna be going through. And in this video, we obviously don't have time to cover all 100 to 1,000 checkpoints on your serve. We're gonna cover the specific checkpoints that are gonna give you 90% of the results. And if you don't wanna do this yourself, like you just wanna have our AI automatically scan your serve and give you those results, you can click the shop button below to access NeuroSkill Pro, where you'll be able to upload your footage, get a whole AI assessment, have me personally review your footage and send you the drills, as well as access to a stroke analysis feature inside the app so you can record your serve frame by frame next to pros. So with that high level frame, let's now dive into your world-class toss. Let's now cover every single thing that you need in order to develop world-class fundamentals on your tossing phase. The first decision that you want to make is, what type of footwork pattern do you want to use when you serve? Do you want to use the Novak Djokovic style platform stance with your serve? Or do you want to use the Alcaraz Sinner pinpoint stance? So there are some pros and cons to both the platform and the pinpoint stance. The platform is much easier to learn. It's less complex. There's less moving parts. It just allows you to load on your feet and then explode straight up. Whereas the pinpoint can help you generate a little bit more forward momentum, as we see Sinner and Alcaraz doing, but it adds more complexity. If you're just starting out, I would advise going with the platform stance. After you've decided on what style of serve you want, we now want to talk about where you should stand. So the best servers in the world will stand about 1 meter to, on the do side, the right of the center line, and on the ad side, the left of the center line. So they're going to stand and load about right here when they serve. Now there's a specific way that you want to load and position your feet. What we find the best players in the world doing is servers like Novak Djokovic will point their left toe at approximately a straight line towards the net post, whereas servers like Carlos Alcaraz will have their foot positioned more parallel to the baseline. The specific benefits of this is that by positioning your foot in this checkpoint, it allows you to generate the maximum rotation and power from your left hip. So you definitely want to make sure you're hitting this checkpoint. Now that you know exactly where to position your front foot, let's talk about the back. So if you're going to use the platform stance, you want to position your back foot have your back toe in line with your front heel and be positioned at about shoulder width apart with the back toe parallel to the baseline. This is going to give you that perfect balanced stance, which is then going to allow you to easily load up and forward as you accelerate, getting the power from the legs. For using the pinpoint stance, it's very similar. The only small difference is that you want to position your back leg slightly further back. The primary benefit of positioning your back leg further back is it will then allow you to generate more of that forward momentum as you toss and then as you load into your wind-up phase, just like that. Now that you've got the fundamentals covered, you're gonna wanna know the #1 toss mistake that we found that over 93% of all servers who upload their stroke using the NeuroSkill AI make, which is all in relation to how you load and bend with your feet when you toss. The common mistake that statistically you're probably making is as you're tossing, you're either tossing and going up. So a common mistake that we found is a lot of players will go up and then down and then swing. Or you will, as you toss, you will take shuffle steps and move and adjust your feet. The key fix to focus on is simply focus as you execute your fluid tossing motion. You want to focus on simultaneously tossing and then bending all together. So the toss and the bend motion are going to be intimately connected to give you that easy forward force. So now you know the 80-20 of exactly where to position your feet. So where exactly should you toss the ball? What's the optimal? So if we draw a two-dimensional planar homography map of the court, you'll see that the y-axis is going up and the x-axis is going left and right, and the z-axis is traveling vertically. These are the 3 dimensions to a world-class toss. So simply put, a world-class toss is at a specific height, it's specifically at a distance inside the court, and it's perfectly placed on the left to right axis. Let's cover the high level of all 3. The first is the height. The best servers in the world will specifically toss at such a height such that they can make contact with the ball as it just begins to start traveling down. The reason why the best servers in the world don't toss very high and then strike the ball as it's falling down is because gravity accelerates, which means the longer the ball is going down, the faster the target is. And as we know, it's common sense, it's harder to hit a moving target. And the ball traveling down at a fast speed doesn't give you any material benefits. So the core focus that you want to achieve is when you toss at such a height such that when you make contact, the ball is going to travel down just a few inches, just like that. Oh, that one felt so good. So that's exactly how high you want to toss. Now, this is ultra important, which is going to be the y-axis. In other words, how far in the court should you toss? The specific location is actually related to how tall you are. But as a general rule of thumb, you want to make sure that your toss is going to land anywhere from 1 to about 2 to 3 feet inside the court. The reason why this is so important is because it allows you to get that forward momentum traveling up and forward into the court, generating that force. Whereas if I, let's say, toss and my toss is just straight above my head, or behind my body, what that's gonna do is, number one, it's not gonna put me in a good contact, but my weight is also gonna have to fall backwards as I swing, which I'm gonna lose out on that power. Finally, how far to the right or left should your toss be? Now, there is some variation on the tour here, and there also is variation whether you're hitting a flat serve or a kick serve. But the specific fundamentals that you want to achieve is, if you were to let the ball drop, you want your ball to be landing approximately in front of your left foot. So when you make contact, you'll see that the best servers in the world will strike the ball roughly in a straight line with their right shoulder. So by tossing slightly to the left of your release point, that's then gonna allow you to find this perfect contact position as you accelerate going forward into the serve. Now, the final element to a world-class toss is, of course, the consistency. Here's the 3 most valuable lessons I've learned from 15 years experience of how to get a consistent toss. Number 1 is you want to toss smooth. What causes a toss inconsistency is a speedy toss, because the faster that you're tossing, the harder it is to place. So just remember, if you want to have that consistent toss, fluidly raise your arm up. Make it feel good, make it feel effortless. Raise that arm up with your entire body by tilting your trunk as you execute that toss. The second tip is in relation to the orientation of the wrist. A really common mistake that a lot of players make is to toss, they'll flex the wrist. They'll flex their wrist. Whereas instead of moving your wrist, create a platform. Create either a neutral wrist position or slightly extend your wrist, opening your palm up to the sky, just like that. And what this will do is it will allow you to more fluidly release and have the ball travel up. So we're not flicking in our toss, we're palm up and we're releasing the ball straight up into the air, just like that. The final tip is to think of the toss not as an arm motion, but as an entire body motion. So notice how I and what the best players in the world do is as they toss, they're not tossing in a vacuum, but they're fluidly using their entire body. They're bending their knees, they're laterally tilting up, they're extending their trunk, they're executing these core motions in tandem, which gives them that fluid acceleration going up and that perfectly spring-loaded position. All right, world-class athletes, so we've covered the core fundamentals of the toss. Let's now dive into a world-class windup. So if your serve feels army, or you just feel like you're not able to tap into all the biggest muscles of your body, in this phase, I've got you covered. We're gonna talk about the 4 most important checkpoints that over 80% of our members in NeuroSkill miss who've uploaded their serve using AI, and what you're probably not hitting. The first checkpoint that we want to cover is all in relation to the knees. The pros specifically orient their knees in a specific fashion as they load during that wind-up phase or in that trophy pose position. The specific checkpoint that most players miss is when they load with their feet, they fail to create what's called forward weight shift, where you want to see that when you're serving, your knees are going to be tilted in front of your toes. What this allows you and empowers you to achieve is when you accelerate your entire legs and your body, it gives you that forward momentum. Whereas if I don't achieve this checkpoint, which is what most players miss, is they bend, they're straight up, and now my weight's gonna go straight up, or even worse, it's actually gonna be falling backwards. So the key checkpoint and how to achieve this is, if you're using a platform stance, simply focus as you toss, bring your hip forward into your wind-up position. This naturally creates that forward momentum as you load into your wind-up position. So once you have that forward weight shift dialed in, there's 3 final checkpoints that the best players in the world achieve on every single serve. The first is in relation to the chest. This is a vital checkpoint that most players don't achieve, which is when you load during your wind-up phase, you want to make sure that your trunk is going to laterally tilt back to achieve approximately a 45-degree tilt relative to the court. The reason why the lateral tilt takes your power to the next level is because it allows you to generate the maximum upward force, which then translates into the downward force or the pro drop position. So if you're not fully laterally tilting down, it doesn't allow you to then generate that upward and rotational force into your serve, but rather your serve is going to be more rotational and you're not going to be generating that perfect upward contact position as we see. So the core element to focus on is just making sure that when you complete your windup, you're going to laterally tilt your trunk back at a 45-degree angle, just like that. And for full context, because I want to give you everything that I have in this short time, is know that the trunk can move in 3 dimensions. You have rotation, you have flexion, extension, and then you have the lateral tilt. The core checkpoint is making sure you get those shoulders tilted down so you can spring up. Once you have that mastered, the final 2 checkpoints that's going to give you the maximum results with your windup has everything to do with the position and the bending of your elbow. Every top server in the world is going to position their hitting arm elbow to be approximately in line or slightly below the height of your shoulders. We could technically call this a 90-degree angle, where we have a right triangle in the armpit region, or about a 70-degree angle where the elbow goes slightly lower. The optimal range you want to hit is that elbow is going to be either in line or slightly below. The second checkpoint is in relation to how bent you want your elbow to be. The core element you want to focus on is making sure that your elbow gets to approximately a 90-degree level of bend. So this would be all the way bent. This would be 180 degrees. This would be that perfect 90 degrees. This would be 70 degrees. So the core element you must achieve when you serve: number 1, get that forward weight shift. Number 2, get that lateral tilt. Number 3, get that elbow in line with your shoulders, bent at a 90-degree angle. And if I just even start in these checkpoints and just focus on tilting and driving, look how much easy force I can generate from my entire body from this starting position, traveling up and forward into my serve. So if you want to step on the court and by your very next session have every single one of these checkpoints mastered, the number 1 thing that's going to give you the most results is real-time feedback. So I'm going to be demonstrating what you can get access to by clicking the NeuroSkill button below this video, where you'll see we now in the NeuroSkill app have an AI tracking all of my checkpoints in real time. So I'm going to go ahead and line up my shoulders, and you'll see that it's specifically going to be tracking my hitting arm checkpoints just like this. So in this exercise, I'm going to focus on finding those specific checkpoints we just covered of the windup, and once I find that position, you'll see it's actually going to play that sound effect, which tells me I'm in the right spot, so then I can blast my serve. So again, I'm going to go ahead and load up, find that checkpoint. It's then going to tell me I'm in the right spot. I'm going to load and accelerate up and forward into the shot. So I'd highly encourage you, if you want to master these at record speed, click that shot button and check out NeuroSkill Pro. If you struggle with the waiter's tray serve, if you're overall not finding yourself being able to create that perfect pro drop position, or you just want to feel your power go to the next level from your entire body, in this phase, the acceleration, I've got you covered. The first and most important checkpoint to achieving a world-class acceleration has everything to do with the timing and the sequencing of your kinetic chain. See, the thing that players struggle with the most is they do all this hard work finding and getting all of these perfect wind-up checkpoints, but then rather than driving their legs and initiating their acceleration from this motion, they'll prematurely laterally tilt, drop their racket back, and then drive their legs. The most important checkpoint that we'll see all the best servers doing in the world is they will specifically initiate their kinetic chain from the ground up. This is the key to maximizing how much kinetic energy or newtons you can actually translate into your racket. If, for example, you do all the hard work, you learn these checkpoints, but then right before you swing, you tilt and then jump, your serve is always gonna feel pushy, it's gonna feel limited. Whereas if I just focus on this single checkpoint of finding my checkpoints, achieving these key elements, and then driving my leg and having that initiate the entire swing, watch the turbocharge effect that that's gonna have on my serve. Whoa, that thing was like a rocket. Felt so good. And this is really the key to feeling absolutely effortless when you serve. Now, I've created dozens of drills, but the number one that I found for myself, given me the most results, is simply focusing on doing shadow swings where I break my serve down into two phases. Number one is I complete my wind-up checkpoint, I then freeze, I then jump, and then swing. So imagine like a volleyball serve. You're gonna jump and then spike the ball. It's the same exact thing. You load, you get set, you find those checkpoints, you jump, and then swing. So you just focus on making sure you fire the leg drive first before you initiate your acceleration. And I used to be a player that I was so tight, I was so weak, and now it feels so good because I'm using every muscle in my body as I accelerate, and that's gonna be you too. So now that you know exactly how to optimize and generate the maximum force from your entire body into that kinetic chain, I'm gonna empower you with permanently correcting the waiter's tray serve. So first, what exactly is the waiter's tray serve, and why does it stop you from being able to generate that downward and upward force? So fundamentally, the waiter's tray serve is simply just excessive wrist extension. So wrist extension is where the palm points up or it's out, right? So you have flexion and extension. Let's go ahead and pull out Alcaraz and Sinner's serve, and let's zoom into their elbow in ultra high fidelity. Notice how as they accelerate, their elbow will actually go from about a 90-degree angle to then bending in at about a 70-degree angle. I've never seen any other coach teach this specific checkpoint, and it really is the permanent fix for the waiter's tray. Because what this checkpoint allows you to achieve is, rather than having the wrist extend and the racket go back into that waiter's tray position, rather than doing that, if you just actively focus on bending the elbow in, that's what then allows you to then bend the elbow in, externally rotate, drop the racket, and then go into that perfect pro drop position. So the way to fix this is simply, you can just focus on starting from that 90-degree checkpoint, and then as you drive your legs, actively focus on bending the elbow in. By opening the wrist, that causes the racket to just travel straight back, but then by bending the elbow, that's what gives you that pro drop position and that huge, easy force. The final power killer that you're probably doing with your serve is called excessive trunk rotation. So if we look at every single top server in the game, notice if we draw a line of their elbow, notice how their elbow actually forms a near straight line traveling up into contact. The acceleration power killer that so many players make, especially if they don't have the right toss, is they over-rotate their swing. And what this does is, rather than having your elbow travel straight up for maximum power, by over-rotating and having your elbow travel to the right, it doesn't allow you to generate the pro drop and the maximum upward force. Rather, your serve becomes more of a wristy slap shot. It's low, it's inconsistent, and it just doesn't feel good. So the key fix is focus on, from your wind-up checkpoint, with that perfect toss you mastered in the earlier phase, focus not on rotating your chest, but rather just laterally tilting and then raising your right elbow straight up as you serve, and it's just gonna unleash off your serve. It feels so amazing. And I can tell you, using the methodology that we're covering, I've been able to add over 15 miles an hour serve in just 10 training sessions. All right, world-class athlete. So now that you have the fundamentals of exactly how to create a world-class acceleration, let's now dive into the next phase, which makes or breaks everything on the serve. Now, if you feel like you're not getting that really fluid, silky, smooth sensation and effortless pop when you strike the shot, or your wrist just feels tight, or you're losing consistency, this phase is gonna contain the key to transforming that. which has everything to do with how the best servers in the world make contact on their serve. There's going to be two crucial checkpoints that over 82% of all of our members who've used the NeuroSkill AI that have fixed it have made, which is number one, the orientation of the racket relative to the hand at contact. So there are two different ways that your wrist can move side to side. You have ulnar deviation, which makes your arm go to the outside, which if you're holding the racket looks like this. And then you have radial deviation, which brings your wrist in and makes the racket be positioned here to the side. Now, if you're hitting the flat serve versus the kick serve, there is some variation, but what you want to make sure is that no matter what serve you're hitting, you want to make sure that, simply put, your racket is going to be to the left of your wrist. On the flat serve, you want it anywhere from 10 to 30 degrees. And on the kick, you want it anywhere from 45 to 90 degrees. The reason why this is such a game changer, if you're not already doing it, is I want you to guess, what do you think is the number one source of power on the serve? Is it the flexion of the wrist? Is it the chest? Is it the pronation of the forearm? No, it's actually one singular motion, which is known as shoulder internal rotation. It's the internal rotation of your shoulder, powered by your pec, your anterior deltoid or front shoulder, and your lat muscle. See, the challenge that so many players make is when they execute their serve, they're not gonna achieve this simple checkpoint. And what this means is now when I make contact, I can't get power from my shoulder. This is my internal rotation motion with my racket straight up. So as a result, I'm now gonna have to use my wrist. So it's limited, it's tight, and it's inconsistent. Whereas if I just make this one fix, if I get my racket positioned to the left of my hand at contact, notice how not only is that gonna give me a consistent, but a powerful serve traveling up and then straight forward into the court. Solve this one problem and you're gonna unlock the number one source of power in your serve and watch that power in effortless pop skyrocket. The second related checkpoint that most players miss has everything to do with where the chest is at contact. Take a look at the best servers in the world. Notice how as they accelerate, their trunk will be tilted in front of their body at approximately a 45-degree angle. This is such a game changer because by positioning your trunk forward at contact, it allows you to get your weight traveling forward. Versus if I'm tilted or I'm standing straight up or even worse, back when I serve, notice how now, I can't get as much force. So as you mastered in the toss section, when you toss the ball in front of your body and you tilt your knees forward, this is what then allows you to drive forward, explode, and make contact with your trunk in front. So you can see from that side angle, when I made contact, I'm leaning forward, my trunk is accelerating forward into the shot. Fix this one problem and you're gonna feel tension eliminated from your back and that you're getting so much more forward force into the ball. All right, world-class athlete, you've made it to the contact. Let's now close with the final and one of the most important phases that's gonna give you that world-class serve. If you feel like you've plateaued with your power on your serve, this phase is gonna unlock the next level for you. We found that only 21% of our players inside NeuroSkill were executing this one simple checkpoint of the final phase on the serve, the follow through. Where I want you to notice my acceleration and my contact. Notice how when I make contact, my body is traveling up and forward through the finish. The problem and the common mistake that most players make is that they don't generate enough force from their leg drive. And what this causes is when they make contact, their entire body, rather than traveling up and through the ball at contact, that we can see every top server in the world achieving, Rather, they'll be making contact on their way down on the serve. So as a metaphor, imagine if you were throwing a punch. Would you generate more power if your entire weight was going up into the punch? Or if your entire weight was just falling down and then you could just punch at the last second? Of course, it's just common sense. If you have all of your weight traveling up into contact, that's what's gonna maximize your force. So rather than making contact and falling down, focus rather on driving your legs and exploding up and through the ball to generate the maximum force with your entire body going up and forward into the shot. All right, world-class athlete, so we've covered all of these key checkpoints. Your next step is review your own serve footage of those 5 phases across all the checkpoints that we covered. Which are you doing right and which do you need to focus on? If you want me to do all of this for you, you can simply click the button below and check out NeuroSkill Pro. There, you'll upload a video of your serve, we'll analyze it automatically using our sophisticated AI, and I'll send you back your comprehensive plan of the exact checkpoints that you're missing and the ones to focus on to get you that world-class technique, giving you step-by-step drills along the way. And I just want to share one final mindset tip, which has made all the difference. When I first stepped on the court and I wanted to start developing the Carlos Alcaraz serve, I remember serve after serve, it was such a struggle. I was like, Grant, why can't you just put your arm in this wind-up checkpoint? I found literally after every serve, it was like my body was battling me. It wanted to stick with my bad habits. And it was easy to get discouraged at that time, but I just had that long-term mindset where I'm not gonna focus on how my serve is right now. I'm just gonna show up, I'm gonna be humble, and I'm just gonna give my absolute best. Every single rep, let's just try my best to focus on hitting these checkpoints. And one element that gave me a huge breakthrough right away, because I was struggling so much, is I was like, okay, I'm just gonna hit the worst serve of my life. I don't care where the ball goes, I'm just gonna hit this checkpoint that I'm focusing on with my wind up. And I just focused on that. I thought the serve was gonna be a disaster because I wasn't even paying attention. And then by my surprise, I just perfectly locked everything in and I absolutely blasted one of my hardest serves, which shows you that when you stop obsessing about hitting the serve in and you just focus on the technique, the results take care of themselves. If you wanna get the fruit, don't focus on the fruit, focus on the root. It's the inputs that drive the outcomes. If you want the results, focus on the process because the process is what gives it to you. All right, world-class athlete, use this video, sign up for NeuroSkill Pro. I can't wait to see you inside. I'm so grateful to be your coach, and I'll see you on the next video. Let's go.